My parents gave my bedroom to my pregnant sister without asking, then got mad when I stopped visiting. So I did this with their Christmas gifts, and I woke up to 17 missed calls. Throwaway, because my sister follows my main account. Sorry in advance for how long this is going to be, but I'm still trying to process what happened this weekend, and I honestly don't know if I'm overreacting or not. So some background: I'm female, 25, and I work as a graphic designer in the city, which is about 45 minutes from my hometown, where my parents, Beverly, female 52, and Michael, male 54, still live in the house I grew up in. I've had my own apartment for about 3 years now, but I still visit them pretty regularly, like every 2 to 3 weeks, and sometimes stay overnight, or at least I did until this weekend. I haven't been able to visit for almost a month because I've been really busy with this huge work project that's been taking up all my time. So I finally got some breathing room and decided to go home this weekend to relax and catch up with everyone. When I got there Saturday afternoon, my mom was being weird right away. She kept trying to talk to me in the kitchen and offering me snacks, which felt forced. My dad was watching some game in the living room and barely looked up when I came in. Totally normal for him, lol. I said I was going to go put my overnight bag in my room, and my mom got this look on her face but didn't say anything. So I went upstairs and opened my bedroom door and just froze. My room was gone. The walls were painted yellow, they were blue before. There was a crib in the corner, a changing table against one wall, and baby decorations everywhere. All my stuff was just gone. I honestly stood there for like a full minute trying to process what I was seeing. I called out to my mom about what happened to my room, and she came upstairs with this nervous smile and told me they turned it into a nursery for Amber and the baby. For context, my older sister Amber, female, 28, recently broke up with her fiancé Nathan after finding out she was pregnant. But they completely took over my room without even asking me. I asked where all my stuff was, and my mom said they packed everything up very carefully, and it was all in the basement. I went down to check, and it was a disaster. They had thrown everything into random boxes. Some of my art portfolios from college were crushed under heavier items. My diploma frame was cracked, and I couldn't even find some of my childhood keepsakes. When I came back upstairs, I was almost crying and asked why nobody thought to call me first. My dad just said I don't live there anymore, and Amber needs the room more with the baby coming. I pointed out that I still stay over regularly when I visit, and my mom said I could just use the pull-out couch in the future. When I asked about my missing artwork and professional design portfolios that were in the closet, my dad said they might have donated some old papers because the closet needed to be cleared out completely. Old papers, my professional work, some of which I can't replace. I got really upset and asked why Amber couldn't use the guest room instead. My mom claimed it was too small for a nursery, which is BS, because the guest room is basically the same size as my old room. While we were arguing, Amber showed up. She's been staying with my parents since the breakup, and immediately defended them, saying I was making a big deal out of nothing, and that family needs to stick together during difficult times. I was so upset I had to walk out of the room for a minute to calm down. When I came back, they were all talking about baby stuff, like the whole conversation never happened. This is typical of how things have always been with my family. Amber has always been the golden child. Growing up, my parents went to every single one of her dance recitals, but somehow always had scheduling conflicts for my art shows. They paid for her entire college education, but told me to take out loans for mine. I told them I wasn't staying overnight and that I needed to go back to my apartment. My mom acted all hurt and said they hadn't seen me in weeks, as if that wasn't their fault for destroying my room without even a heads up. I've been talking to my boyfriend Steven, male, 27, about all this, and he thinks they completely crossed a major boundary. He's been encouraging me to set better boundaries with my family for years, and I think he's right. So I decided I'm not going back to visit until they acknowledge what they did was wrong. When I told them this on the phone yesterday, my mom immediately started with the guilt trips. She said I was abandoning family when they need me most, and being selfish when my sister is going through a difficult time. My dad said I've always only thought about myself and that I'm being dramatic as usual. This is what always happens. Anytime I express being upset about anything, my mom calls me overly sensitive and makes me feel like my feelings aren't valid. I've spent my whole life doubting whether my reactions are normal because of this. I don't know. Maybe I am overreacting. It's just a room, right? But it feels like so much more than that. It feels like a complete lack of respect for me and my belongings. Like I don't matter enough to even get a phone call before they erase my space from their house. Steven says I should stand my ground, but years of conditioning make me wonder if I'm being unreasonable. I mean, Amber is pregnant and going through a breakup. Am I being selfish? Edit. A lot of people are asking why Amber can't live in her own place. She was living with Nathan until the breakup about 6 weeks ago. She moved back home because she's between jobs right now. She quit her last one because of morning sickness and needed financial support, which I understand, but that doesn't explain why they had to take my room without asking. Edit 2. To clarify about my belongings. Yes, I did take important stuff with me when I moved out, but I left a lot of things there because my apartment is small and my parents always said it was fine to keep using my room as partial storage. I had art portfolios, sketchbooks, some awards, certificates, and sentimental items that I didn't have space for. The donated papers comment from my dad makes me think some of that stuff might be gone for good. Edit 3. For those asking about my relationship with Amber, we were actually pretty close growing up, despite the favoritism. Things got more strained in our 20s as the pattern continued. I was genuinely happy for her when she got engaged and found out about the pregnancy. I've been trying to be supportive about the breakup too. This room situation is the first major conflict we've had as adults. Edit 4. Thanks for all the supportive comments. Reading them made me cry because I'm not used to people validating my feelings like this. A few people asked about my mom's overly sensitive comments. It's been happening since I was little. If I cried when other kids were mean to me, I was too sensitive. If I got upset when plans changed suddenly, I was making a scene. Eventually, I just learned to suppress my reactions to avoid being labeled dramatic. Now for the first update. First, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. I honestly wasn't expecting so many responses, and it was actually overwhelming, in a good way, to see so many people validate my feelings after a lifetime of being told I'm too sensitive. It's been about 2 months since I discovered my bedroom had been turned into a nursery without even a heads up, and I wish I could say things have gotten better, but they really haven't. Actually, they've gotten worse. I stuck to my boundary of not visiting my parents' house, which has resulted in basically daily texts and calls that cycle through every manipulation tactic in the book. Like seriously, it's like they're working from a playbook. Guilt. This might be our last Christmas as a family before the baby comes, and your sister needs her family support system right now. Anger. You're being childish and punishing everyone over a room, and I didn't raise you to be this selfish. Dismissal. It's just a room, get over it already, and you don't even live here anymore. Health concerns. Your father's blood pressure is up because of this stress, and I've been having migraines worrying about this family being torn apart. That last one is my mom's specialty. She's always used health concerns to control family behavior. Like there was this time in high school when I got accepted to this overnight art retreat that was actually a really big deal. Only 15 students from the state got in, and my mom claimed she would worry herself sick if I went. So I didn't go. And then I found out later she had actually gone on a girls' weekend with her friends during that exact same time frame. So yeah. As Christmas got closer, the pressure got way worse. Suddenly, extended family members started reaching out because they'd heard what was going on. Of course, they only heard my parents' version where I'm the unreasonable daughter throwing a tantrum over nothing. Even my grandmother, who has always been in my corner, called to suggest I should be the bigger person for the sake of family harmony. That one actually hurt the most. I've been talking a lot with Steven about all this, and I also started seeing a therapist after the whole bedroom incident. Shout out to all the commenters who suggested therapy. You were right. After a lot of processing, I reluctantly agreed to go on Christmas Day only, not the usual 3-day celebration my family does. My mom acted like I was committing a cardinal sin by skipping Christmas Eve and Boxing Day. But whatever, so despite feeling hurt and angry, I still spent a bunch of money on really thoughtful gifts. A rare collector's model car for my dad that he's wanted for literally years, $300. A luxury spa weekend package for my mom, $450. Some really nice and expensive baby items for Amber. I don't know why I did this. I guess I'm still trying to prove something, that I'm not the selfish one, that I still care. My therapist says I'm trying to buy their approval, which, yeah, probably. Anyway, Christmas Day was a disaster. Here's how it went down. I arrived with all these carefully wrapped expensive gifts. My mom greeted me coldly while hugging and kissing everyone else much more warmly. My dad barely looked up from the football game, just did the chin nod thing. Amber was showing off ultrasound photos to everyone, getting tons of attention. I tried to participate in conversations but kept getting talked over or ignored. I literally felt invisible, despite sitting right there in the room. Like at one point, I started talking about this cool project I just finished at work, and my Aunt Frances just started talking over me about her new curtains. Not even kidding. Then gift exchange starts. I get a generic sweater in the wrong size from my parents. Like they couldn't even remember I'm a medium, not a large. And from Amber, I got a $25 gift card to some coffee chain I've mentioned multiple times I don't go to because their coffee gives me migraines. Meanwhile, my parents gave Amber like 8 different gifts, including a new iPad for the baby. Yeah, right. The worst part, Amber was wearing my grandmother's old necklace, the one that was explicitly promised to me when I was 16 because I always admired it. No one mentioned it. No one even looked at me when I noticed it. They just gave it to her. I excused myself to get water from the kitchen because I needed a minute to breathe. While I was in there, I overheard my mom talking to Aunt Frances in the dining room. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but our house has that open floor plan, and they weren't exactly whispering. I heard my mom tell Aunt Frances that at least one daughter puts family first. When my aunt asked about the situation with me, my mom sighed and said I've always been sensitive. She claimed they barely touched my room, just moved a few things to make space for the baby. Barely touched my room. It was completely transformed. They painted the walls, removed all my furniture, and installed an entire nursery. I almost dropped my glass when I heard that lie. Then I heard my mom say they gave Amber my grandmother's jewelry box too, adding that I wouldn't appreciate it anyway. This was a vintage jewelry box my grandmother gave me when I was 10. I kept all my special treasures in it, and they just gave it away, without even asking, and then claimed I wouldn't appreciate it. I had to go to the bathroom and call Steven. I was shaking. He wanted to come get me right away, but I said I'd drive myself home. I didn't want to cause a scene. I went back to the gathering with this weird calm that comes when you're just done. I told everyone, I just realized I forgot to include something special with the gifts I brought and needed to take them back. Everyone was so busy fawning over Amber's baby registry that they barely noticed. I collected all my unopened gifts and left. No one even noticed I was leaving for good. Not one person walked me to the door or asked if I was okay. I drove home thinking about what to do with these expensive gifts that I bought for people who clearly don't value me at all. I feel so, I don't even know, empty, angry, sad, all of it. The most messed up part is that even after all this, there's still this tiny part of me that wants them to understand how I feel, to actually see me. Is that pathetic? I know I should probably just cut ties, but there's this little girl inside me still desperately wanting her parents' approval. My therapist says that's normal, but it feels so weak. My parents called me 5 times last night. Did they call to check if I was okay after leaving early? Nope. They called to demand to know when I was bringing their gifts back. My mom's voicemail said I was being inconsiderate, making everyone wait for their presents. I haven't responded to any calls or texts. I just can't right now. For those who suggested in my last post that my parents have always favored Amber, you were 100% right. I don't think I fully acknowledged how bad it was until yesterday when I saw it all playing out in front of extended family who just accept it as normal. I don't know what to do about the gifts. Part of me wants to return everything and use the money for something for myself. Another part feels guilty about that. Thanks. Lifetime of conditioning. What would you do? And am I crazy for still wanting a relationship with them after all this? Edit. Several people are asking if I confronted my mom about the jewelry box and necklace. No, I didn't. In the moment, I was too shocked and hurt. And honestly, past experience has taught me that confronting my mom just leads to her turning things around on me and making me feel crazy for being upset. She would have said something like, "Oh, you never showed any interest in those things." Not true. Or, "You're so materialistic, focusing on objects instead of family." Also not true. Edit 2. To the people suggesting I should have just talked it out with them right then, you clearly haven't dealt with manipulative family dynamics. When I've tried standing up for myself in the past, my dad shuts down completely and my mom twists everything I say until somehow I'm apologizing to them. It's easier to see how messed up it is now that I'm older and have some distance, but in the moment it's really hard to break those patterns. Edit 3. Wow, woke up to hundreds more comments. To answer the most common questions, Yes, I still have my key to their house and could potentially get the jewelry box if it's still there, but that feels like stealing even though it was literally given to me years ago. And yes, I did try explaining my feelings calmly to my mom after the bedroom incident, which resulted in her crying and saying, "I guess I'm just the worst mother in the world then," until I ended up comforting her. Classic. Edit 4. For those asking about Steven, he's been amazingly supportive through all this. He wanted to come to Christmas with me, but I knew that would make things even more tense since my mom always makes little digs about him being not ambitious enough. He's a teacher and coaches high school basketball, which apparently isn't prestigious enough for her. He's actually the one who encouraged me to get therapy after seeing how much the bedroom situation affected me. Edit 5. To the commenter who asked about my dad's role in all this, he mostly stays out of conflicts and defers to my mom, but he's not innocent. He'll sit silently while my mom says hurtful things, then later tell me privately, "You know how she is," as if that makes it okay. When I've tried talking to him one-on-one about how I feel, he gets uncomfortable and says, "I don't want to get in the middle," as if he's not literally my parent. Now for the second update. Hey everyone, it's been a while. After everything that happened at Christmas, which feels like a million years ago, but was only about a month, I've been trying to figure out how to handle my family situation, and I think I finally made some actual progress. Maybe. I'm still not sure. First, thank you so much to everyone who commented on my last post. Reading through all your responses genuinely helped me realize I'm not crazy for being upset about all this. After a lifetime of being told I'm too sensitive, having hundreds of internet strangers validate my feelings was honestly kind of overwhelming. So anyway, after I left my parents' house on Christmas with all those expensive gifts I'd bought them, the ones they were very concerned about getting back, I basically drove home feeling numb. When I got back to my apartment, Steven was waiting for me with hot chocolate and my favorite takeout. We ended up talking for hours that night, like until 3 a.m. kind of hours, and he pointed out something that hit me hard. I've been trying to buy my parents' approval my entire life, not just with these Christmas gifts, but with everything. Always going above and beyond for birthdays and holidays, always offering to help with stuff, always trying to be the good daughter, even when they constantly made me feel like I wasn't enough. I mean, I spent almost $1,000 on Christmas gifts for people who couldn't even be bothered to get me the right size sweater or remember which coffee shops I like. And yes, that amount is a lot for me. I had to save for months for that stuff. It got me thinking about this time when I was 16. I had saved up from my after-school job for months to buy my mom this necklace she had pointed out at the mall. It was like $175, which was a fortune to me at that age. I was so excited to give it to her for her birthday. She opened it, said it was nice, wore it once, and then I never saw it again. When I asked about it a few weeks later, she casually mentioned she had exchanged it because it wasn't really her style. She never even told me. And what did she get instead? A blender. A freaking blender with my money that I spent months saving. And you know what's really messed up? I apologized to her for not getting her taste right. Like what? Anyway, after talking with Steven and my therapist in an emergency session the next day, I finally made some decisions about those Christmas gifts and my whole family situation. Here's what I did. 1. I returned my dad's collector's model car to the specialty store. They were super nice about it, even though it was after Christmas. 2. I canceled my mom's spa weekend package for a full refund. They were a little annoyed, but whatever. 3. I returned all the baby stuff I got for Amber. In total, I got back like $900, which I used for 3 things. First, I rented a small storage unit, $125 a month, but first month was half off, and went back to my parents' house while they were at work to get all my remaining stuff from their basement. This was actually Steven's idea, and even though it felt weird using my key when they weren't home, I decided it was justified since they're the ones who packed up all my belongings without asking in the first place. And guess what I found? More damaged stuff, including my first professional camera that was crushed under some boxes. Cool, cool, cool. Second, I donated $200 to this local organization that supports single mothers in Amber's name. I know that might sound petty, but I genuinely want her and the baby to be okay, just from a distance. They sent her a nice card about the donation and everything. Third, I booked myself a weekend trip to this little coastal town about 3 hours away, $450 for a nice hotel room with an ocean view. I've literally never taken a trip just for myself before. It's always been for work or with other people or whatever. But my therapist has been pushing me to practice self-care that isn't just like taking a bubble bath or whatever. The day after Christmas, I sent a text to our family group chat explaining what I did with the gifts and that I needed some space. I was really careful about the wording. I didn't want to be mean, but I also needed to be clear. I wrote it out like 5 times before sending it. Here's basically what I said. I've returned the Christmas gifts and used the money for things that will help me move forward. I've collected my remaining belongings from the basement. I need some space from everyone for a while to process everything that's happened. Please respect that I need time without contact. I'll reach out when I'm ready. I sent it around 9 p.m., took a sleeping pill, prescribed by my doctor for my anxiety, not like recreationally or whatever, and turned my phone off, which I literally never do. When I woke up the next morning around 10 a.m. and turned my phone back on, I had 17 missed calls. Not kidding. 7 from my mom, starting angry, ending tearful. 5 from my dad, mostly angry except the last one. 3 from Amber, surprisingly understanding. And 2 from extended family, my grandmother and Aunt Frances. The voicemails were a lot. I made myself listen to all of them in order. My mom's first message was basically demanding an explanation for my childish stunt with the gifts. My dad's first voicemail threatened to drive to my apartment if I didn't call back immediately. My mom's third message was her crying about how I was destroying the family because I, checks notes, asked for space. But then Amber's message actually surprised me. She said she understood why I was upset and that my feelings were valid, which didn't sound like the Amber I know. But okay, my dad's final message included this grudging admission that they could have handled things better, which is probably the closest thing to an apology I've ever heard from him. My grandmother offered to mediate the situation, which was sweet but unnecessary. And get this, my mom's last message contained what sounded like an actual apology. She said she was sorry for not considering my feelings about my room and my things. I almost dropped my phone. The weirdest part was Aunt Frances's message, where she mentioned she had talked to my mom about respecting boundaries after Christmas. Apparently, she noticed how I was being treated at the gathering and said something to my mom about it later. I felt momentary guilt hearing my mom upset in the later messages, but then I remembered, this is what always happens. She gets upset, I feel guilty, I comfort her, and nothing ever changes. So instead of calling back, I just sent a brief text saying I was safe but still needed space for at least 2 weeks before any further communication. After about 3 weeks, which was honestly the longest I've gone without talking to my family since ever, I agreed to meet my parents and Amber at this cafe that's about halfway between my apartment and their house. Neutral territory, you know. The meeting was uncomfortable, but actually kind of productive. My mom started off by trying to minimize the bedroom incident again, saying they just needed the space and thought I wouldn't mind, but I calmly held my ground. I just kept repeating that it wasn't about the room itself, it was about respect and communication. My dad reluctantly admitted they should have asked first, which felt like a big deal coming from him. The biggest surprise was Amber actually supporting my perspective. She told my mom they should have called me first, which made my mom look super annoyed, but she couldn't exactly argue with both of us. I was really proud of myself for maintaining my boundaries despite my mom's tearful attempts to just go back to normal. I kept emphasizing that the bedroom incident was just a symptom of a deeper pattern of disrespect that's existed my whole life. Eventually, we agreed to monthly dinners at restaurants, neutral territory, and my mom actually suggested family therapy, which my dad initially rejected but eventually agreed to try if it will fix all this. Eye roll. So that's where things stand now. Our relationship is still strained, but there's been some progress. I still sometimes feel guilty about causing problems. Thanks, lifetime of conditioning. But I'm learning to trust my feelings with my therapist's help. My weekend trip was amazing, by the way. I just sat on the beach and read books and ordered room service and didn't talk to anyone for like 48 hours. It was glorious. I'm trying to establish more of an identity outside of my family's expectations, which is harder than it sounds when your whole life has been about trying to earn their approval. I've been helping Amber prepare for single motherhood in ways that respect my boundaries. Like I'll text her articles or resources, but I'm not going to doctor's appointments or anything. My parents have actually attended 2 family therapy sessions, though my mom tried to cancel the second one because she didn't think we needed it anymore after one session fixed everything, apparently lol. I don't expect perfect resolution. My therapist says that's not realistic given our history, but I do feel stronger for having stood up for myself, even if it was scary. The hardest part is accepting that my parents might never fully change. They're in their 50s and have been this way my entire life, but I'm finding some peace in accepting them as flawed people while protecting my own well-being. I can love them without allowing them to treat me poorly, you know? Anyway, thanks for letting me ramble. This community has been more supportive than my actual family in many ways. Edit. Several people are asking if I felt bad about using my key to get my stuff when they weren't home. Honestly, not really. They packed up my entire life without asking me, so I don't feel guilty about retrieving my own property. And yes, I still have the key. No, I don't plan to return it unless they ask. Edit 2. To the person who asked if the family therapy is actually helping, it's too soon to tell. The therapist seems good and has called out my mom several times on her "that's just how I am" excuses, which was satisfying to watch. My dad mostly sits there looking uncomfortable, but he's showing up, which is something. Edit 3. Oh my fricking god, the number of comments about Steven. Yes, he's still amazing and supportive. No, we're not engaged yet, lol. He's been really respectful about giving me space to work through my family issues before we take any next steps in our relationship, which I appreciate. And yes, as many of you suggested in my last post, he did say "I told you so," but very gently, about my family's toxic dynamics. Edit 4. For those asking about the grandmother's necklace and jewelry box, I brought it up at our cafe meeting. My mom claimed Amber had always admired the necklace too, news to me, and that my grandmother had mentioned wanting her to have it, conveniently after she's gone and can't confirm. I didn't push it because it wasn't worth the fight, but I did say I was hurt they gave away the jewelry box that was explicitly given to me. My mom's response? "We thought you forgot about it since you left it at our house. I literally had to walk to the bathroom to avoid screaming." Edit 5. To answer the most common question, yes, I'm still in therapy, and it's helping a lot. My therapist pointed out that my people-pleasing tendencies and difficulty setting boundaries are directly related to growing up with a mom who made her emotional reactions my responsibility. Apparently that's not normal. Who knew?